You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium Games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 107, previewing 4.2 Stormbreaker. Or at least that's what I'm calling it. I'm sure they're going to call it something different, but it's all things weather and this in-game, it's not an event, but an in-game sandbox activity that's going to bring many different cultures of video gamers together. A lot to discuss on today's episode. We're going into, in no particular order, the May subscriber flare, the roadmap update, the Star Citizen PU monthly report, Inside Star Citizen's storm reactions, or the 4.2 into the storm reactions, the PTU 4.2 patch notes, community ship giveaway, Patch Watch 4.2, International Bar Citizen updates, and a simple reminder to name your Idris. We're like right in the middle of naming our Idrises, and it came to my attention that a lot of people forgot. And so they've missed their window, or at least their early access to name their Idris. So I'm just going to go through those notes real quick up at the top of this podcast. But welcome in, everybody. Again, as always, I hope this finds you well. I'm tired, y'all. I am tired. It's been a blessed week, but it's been a busy week. So my kiddos are in vacation Bible school are in the evening, still over with now, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they were at vacation Bible school. I was serving security for the church. It's what I do in my, free time when I'm not gaming or doing normal fatherly stuff. So yeah, being out there around over 1,000 kids in very small spaces. It's a lot. Raising 2 kids is a lot, but being kind of responsible for the safety of over 1,000, it's exhausting. Had a great time, very eventful. And then Wednesday night, actually, we took a break from VBS and attended the amateur hockey playoffs between the Texas Stars and somebody else. It doesn't matter. They're the opponent. But it was great. It was an awesome hockey game that went into double overtime, but it was really cool. And I know this has nothing to do with Star Citizen, but I'm a family man first. And I think most of y'all listen because I'm a normal human being. It was really cool because my son, I always talk about my son on these podcasts, but he was saying doom and gloom towards the end of the third period. There's no way we're going to come back. We were down 3-4. And with 18 seconds left on the clock, we scored to tie it to go into overtime. So it was just one of those really cool father-son moments where he was like, "Dad, you're right. That was awesome," and celebrating and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to keep that in the back pocket for whenever he questions me again. Like, "Dad, you don't know what you're talking about." I'll be like, hey, remember that one time? Remember that hockey game? So yeah, I actually took off of work yesterday just to have a recovery day. Kept the kiddos home from summer school. So we did a lot of Clair Obscura Expedition 33, which if you haven't played it, I don't know what else to tell you. It's simply, it is the best game of the year, last several years. And I don't know, y'all, it might actually be one of my favorite games of all time. So we played a lot of that yesterday. Again, just an incredible experience. And then we had Org Night last night. So let's get into some Star Citizen conversation. So we had Org Night last night. We had an officer and I guess a board of director, but mainly it's the officer Jenner organized a mining night. We call it the Mega Mining Night. So industrial gameplay, which is something you really have to be deliberate on because there's not really like a mission driven loop for it. So it takes a lot of coordination on your own. Like as an organization, it takes a lot. So it was an amazing operation order. We came together. There was 2 mining crews. We had 2 C2s. One C2 had empty mole bags, and the other C2 was actually taking filled mole bags to the refinery. And then I was in charge of the security details. So there's like 3 or 4 of us on security, just making sure nothing crazy happened. But it's very hard for something to happen when you're in a undisclosed location in space that is statistically impossible for somebody to just happen across. So we ended up making that security detail like an escort, where, you know, as the C2s were going back and forth between location, we pulled security. So it was a great night. Just a different tempo, and it's not a bad thing. It's just a different tempo than having something like story driven, like the Hathor mining or the contested zones. So still a good time. If y'all are looking for a home in Star Citizen, we are continuously recruiting. Here's a little update though. Listen up. Listen. Here's an update. So we're at the point now, our size is at the point now where we can't just leave it open to the general public. Like, it's just getting crazy. We can't really vet every single person that's coming through. So we ended up closing the gates, not access to, but just the general admission into our organization. So you're going to go to Spectrum, it's linked in soulprovision.com. You're going to go to Spectrum. You're going to apply. There's a little template that you're going to copy and paste that includes Discord information. So upon acceptance of your application, I will be responding to you with a direct link to access our Discord. But that's just an additional level or an additional layer that just helps us kind of make sure, you know, you are who you are. It's a little bit more easy to make sure that, hey, you actually are part of the Star Citizen community and not some, you know, other nefarious individual. So a little bit of an update there, but cool. I think that's all I wanted to say about Org Night. Just really excited about the way things are going. We're kind of killing time until 4.2, which is the main theme for today's episode. Speaking of which, let's get it.
Incoming message.
It is the first Thursday. First Friday. My days are off. It is the first Friday of June, which means it is our May monthly report over in Beyond the Verse podcast. So here we go. Amazing numbers, guys. So I'll go quickly. You're used to this. Every 4 or 5 episodes, you're going to hear this. But let's just go top to right, left to right, top to bottom. There we go. Podcast first. We actually did cross 1,000 followers. It says 995 followers, but when I opened up today's comments and polls, we're actually at 1,002. So we just made it to 1,000. So congratulations. We are at the 1-click mark of the podcast. So 62.9 thousand plays. Let me just actually read my blurb. This is a little bit easier. In 125 episodes, Beyond the Verse podcast has reached over 83 countries, listening into 62.9 thousand plays and watching 59.1 thousand views. Then our in-game organization, Soul Provision, grew to 319 Discord members and 184 Spectrum members. So incredible growth. You can see everything else here. Extra Life, our philanthropy for children's hospitals, increased to 1.3K. So 26% to goal. We're a quarter of the goal, but we are beyond a quarter of the year. So we got some making up to do. I have plans. Kind of looking forward to that. But yeah, as always, and I'll continue to say this, Blue Sky needs to mature its tools. There's nothing other than 539 followers. I have no idea how engagement is doing over in Blue Sky. So on to episode 106, polls and comments. Again, sharing my screen for those of you on video. We asked the question, which Star Citizen feature are you most hyped for after Invictus launch week? So we had 2, if not 3 weeks based off of Invictus launch week, a lot of material and content. Of course, it was new ships and everything else that comes with a military event inside the verse. Well, now what? Right? So I immediately started teasing actually next week's Alien Week. So I'm trying to keep the hype going. You're welcome, CIG, even though y'all don't necessarily need my help. But the question for me as a content creator always remains is like, what are you interested in? Like, what is it about, I guess, the lulls? like the downtime. What is it that keeps your interest or like piques your interest? And so this kind of helps me understand. So 47.6% say the future patch content. Makes sense, right? 4.2 coming out. What is going to come in 4.3? What can we expect by the end of the year? All of those $1 million questions. That makes total sense. 28.6% say future ships. Of course, you don't have Star Citizen without ships. So everybody's interested in the Perseus. Everybody's interested in the Ironclad, right? Which we actually do have updates for. It's going to be really exciting here in the next couple seconds. So future ships, good to go. Squadron 42 drops, right? 14.3% say they want more information about Squadron 42 as that is coming out next year. And then 9.5% say vehicle mod upgrades. And I actually agree with all this. Now, I maintain that the vehicle mod upgrades is probably more important than we're giving it credit for. Maybe not in this list. Maybe not in this list of 4. But I think we need to keep a very close eye on how CIG is approaching vehicle modularity. Let's just say that. Because there's many different directions that we can go. We have ideas. They've given us hints, but you're not a Star Citizen backer if you're not questioning what you've heard in the past. So, to be very fair. All right, to the comments section. Bravo 1, quote, "First, what an amazing or what an awesome org night, having both an Idris and a Polaris at its full potential, plus a QRF. It was a lot of fun, went smoothly, and the opponent player Polaris that faced the full power of 2 fully staffed capitals was a glorious night. Makes me even more impatient on waiting for my Perseus." Well, Bravo 1, we have an update on the Perseus coming right up. Disowned, quote, "Another great podcast, and what an amazing org night we all had last night. Having a record-breaking 35 people was so special, especially with everyone manning the Idris and the Polaris. I love seeing firsthand how large the org is growing, and I can't wait to see all that's in store in the near future. Also, a huge congratulations to Steel for winning the Asgard. I'm so happy he won, especially with the Idris fiasco he had to deal with during Invictus launch week. Yes, our good friend Dakota Riley, or Steelwicker Beast, I think it's like 12 or 13 attempts on getting the Idris and was not successful, which is the story I'm hearing from a lot of you. This was a very tough one. It's like the first, it's not the first, but in a very long time, it is the first like limited hull ship that's actually live. Like other than the 890 jump and the Phoenix, or the Constellation Phoenix and the Phoenix Emerald, like those are out. Those are limited hull ships that are released. But this was like the next limited hull ship that did come out. And so it's out, it's released. That's what makes it so competitive. So my heart goes out to those who had tried hard, who had the $2,000 saved up and wanted to spend it and was not able to. Sucks. All right, so we have a Micah Edwards, quote, "Not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. The giveaway was org specific, but I understand wanting to give back to everyone that furthers your goals. Thanks for the podcast." Yeah, and I did. I gave this individual the courtesy of a response, so you can see that I have a reply there. Yeah, I'm actually okay with this feedback. It is. I'm okay with this feedback. I took a pivot with my last CIG endorsed or given giveaway. And I did just include those members in sole provision. So the 319 that are in sole provision had the opportunity to win it. That was the first time out of, I don't know how many giveaways I've given to the community. It's the first time that I really just wanted to say thank you to those individuals that have been alongside of me this entire journey. And it went to Dakota Riley, like it went to Steelwicker Beast, which, I mean, that individual has been with us basically since the beginning. So, but I'm also okay with your feedback. Like, I get it. And moving forward, we're going to continue opening up giveaways to the general listener population. But yeah, I think it's okay every now and then. And you're not saying it's not. I'm not reading that here. But I think it's okay to sometimes highlight those who have given, to give back to them. So, and I think you're in agreement there. So I appreciate your words. Thank you. Jude writes, quote, "Congratulations on the record-breaking org night and officially becoming an LLC. Thank you. Means a lot to me. I've always envied your org, as you seem to be a great group of players and you're all working towards a common goal. I only have one friend I play with in the verse, but I can only imagine the fun that everyone has playing together in numbers that big. I love tuning into the podcast, and thank you for providing us with entertainment and news. Jude, join the org. I don't care where you are in the world. I don't care if you're in the Asia Pacific area, like, join our org. We're at the point now where somebody is basically playing at all times. So yeah, you have your one friend to play with, by all means, invite them too. But you're welcome. You're welcome here. Now, our only organized org night is Thursday night, but we do have an LFG, like a looking for group, that continues throughout the rest of the week. And we'll have 5 on, 10 on. We've had 15 on at one time on an off org night. You can find a place here, and we welcome you 100%. Maybe we don't have like these organized Thursday nights for every single night yet, but the intent is we will, and we're close to it. Just we need Star Citizen to catch up to our vision and our intent here. All right. Evan Hanks writes, relating to the poll, I can't wait for future content, specifically engineering. It's going to change the game so much. Ships now that can be managed by X amount of players are going to need more to keep the ship flying. Plus, it's just a whole new layer of possibilities in the verse. Yes, for me, engineering in the game is that living and existing in space that I've talked about since episode 1. Right? So I'm watching, what is the, Danger, Will Robinson, Lost in Space. If y'all remember the story from like the very beginning, my wife and I were watching Lost in Space right whenever Conniff introduced me to Star Citizen. And so like that living in space of that family was like right on the top of my mind when this game came along, and I saw a lot of parallels. Like you could do this in this video game. And so engineering to me opens that up. Like, I don't know, the Star Trek, the Star Wars, living on the Millennium Falcon, right? Like this is, or the Enterprise, like this is what we're looking for, in my opinion, right? This living and existing in space. I personally, even as a quote unquote commander of Soul Provision, would love to just be an engineer one night. I'll play in the op order. I'll play in the mission if I need to, but I think I'm going to assign myself just changing fuses. I know engineers are going to do a lot more, but I'm right there with you. 100% Evan. And last, our good friend Dakota Riley. Thank you for the Asgard. I'm still loving that ship so much. 4.2 is looking really good. It's insane we are getting dynamic weather, radiation, and the Apex Valakar. If you had asked me back at CitizenCon that those things would be in within 8 months of the event instead of as the 12 to 18 months for just the Minster hunting and base building, I would have said hell no. I hope this means crafting and base building aren't too far away. Man, I was right with you up until that last sentence. I think we are significantly closer to crafting than we are base building, but I personally have not seen a lot of movement towards base building yet. I know things are happening in the background. Guys, I'm not ignorant. I'm very married to these notes and patch notes and development notes. Yes, but like base building is such a huge endeavor. Such a huge endeavor. And that will change 100% of Star Citizen, right? Like when you're going through the new ASD facilities and you're going from facility to facility, there could be a player base right in the middle of your travel. And you might go accidentally or deliberately, you might go right through their securities and it breaks up the entire game. Like we love that. We want that. But you have to understand the implications of something so game breaking as base building. It is going to be huge. So I think crafting, we already sort of have that like in a very elementary way. If you look at like the Vulture, in the back of the Vulture, you can craft and create like your own multi-tool. Okay, so we sort of already have crafting, but the way you mean it, like crafting items, crafting ships, the way it was briefed in CitizenCon, I think we are closer to that than we are base building. My 2 cents. So thank you as always. If you want to respond and be part of the polls or the comment section, it's in our Spotify. So even if you watch over on YouTube and you're like, man, I really want my narrative read or my thoughts and emotions read, by all means, go over to Spotify and send that comment in. Or as always, you can email us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com. And speaking of which, we actually do have an email that I really want to get to. I just didn't have it pulled up. So it's not there. Stand by. I'm trying to find it before I share my screen. It is a really, really, really good email. All right, here we go. I'm not going to share my screen because it docks email addresses and names. Okay, but they want to be called Captain Boredom. All right, Captain Boredom. And this email, it devastated me. And I'll explain why in a second. But it's just one sentence, right? It's one sentence. But Captain Boredom writes, I'm curious about something. Do you know any organization or players that will accommodate people with autism or ADHD or people who get overwhelmed easily? So if you have kids in the car, mute it or fast forward. But if you are an organization that doesn't do this, get fucked. If you are an organization that does not accommodate all walks of life and quote unquote disabilities or, I don't know, just any sort of diversity in that way, get fucked. You don't want to be part of those. You don't. So you have a place in Soul Provision. We have a amazing family that welcomes everybody, all walks of life. Space Tomatoes, the tomato organization. Damn it. What is it called? The Garden Initiative, right? So Space Tomatoes organization, very welcoming. Go join his as well. The Astropub has one that's kind of lore based. I don't want to speak for it because actually I've never played with them yet. But I know that Space Tomato and the Astro Historian or Paul Shelley, those are great individuals as well. Join Soul Provision. You will find people. You will absolutely find people. And there's also leadership like myself that has zero tolerance for bullshit. Zero tolerance. So like the moment that you're not being accommodated or patience for, a disability, they're done. I have a 0 strike policy. And a lot of my friends that own like Space Tomato think the exact same way. In fact, his wife would probably kick you before he does. So that email, I understand the sentiment and I appreciate the sentiment. It's just when I read it, I'm like, that individual must have had issues in the past. And that crushes my soul. If my son, I don't know, if my son or daughter, ever had an issue, it would kill me. Clearly. Clearly. All right. On that note, let's get into This Week in Star Citizen. All right. Had a little human moment. Guys, I'm human. Who would have thought? All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Alpha 4.2 is now available to all waves in the PTU. If you haven't checked it out, now's a great time to jump in and help us kick the tires of the latest build. Your feedback goes a long way towards smoothing out the rough edges before its live release. A huge thanks to everyone who already hopped in and shared their thoughts. We appreciate it and keep it coming. Throughout the month of June, we're celebrating you, our vibrant and inclusive community, and we want to see your flair on display, whether you're designing something eye-catching, baking tasty treats, customizing your fleet, or flying proudly in your favorite livery. This is your moment to shine. Submit your most colorful creations for the Show Us Your Colors Celebration 2025, and you could walk away with some sweet rewards. This past Saturday, we had the pleasure of attending Bar Citizen Lion, an incredible gathering organized by Star Citizen. I'm not going to try to say your name. Around 300 citizens showed up, including the next generation of UEE recruits and a few adorable pet copians. From the quiz machine and org showcases to the giveaways and hours of passionate conversation, This was buzzing with energy. Next up, Bar Citizen Toronto kicks off on June 7th. And then we have International Bar Citizen Weekend on June 14th through 15th, which yours truly will be attending the Austin, Texas location. So if you're in Austin, Texas or around Austin, Texas on June 14th, yes, that's Father's Day. Come out. I'll be there. I'll see you. Come shake a hand. I'll be there. All right. So for this week, to the bullet points, on Tuesday, we had the patch watch, which we're about to go through. We have the subscriber promotions, right? Well, that brought me back to being a subscriber, right? We have the PU monthly report, the roadmap update. We have the Inside Star Citizen. So a pretty involved week in Star Citizen. A lot of news to get through. In this first one, again, we always go with like low-hanging fruit. Don't forget to name your Idris. If you're one of the few that has had the privilege of getting yourself the Idris, we're in wave 5. As of today, we're in wave 5. No, we're not. So today's June 6th. Wave 5 is June 8th. So here we go. Sharing my screen. If you haven't done so already, get in there and name your stuff, right? So we're already through wave 1, 2, 3, and 4 ends tomorrow. So June 7th is the end of those that pledged 2017, 18, 19, and 20. So starting June 8th, which is 2021, 22, 23, and 24. So anything prior to this year, June 8th through June 10th. And then if you just now got your Idris this year, it'll be June 11th. So put it on your calendar. If you want that one name that you know for a fact everybody's going to be asking for and trying to get it the day of. So I have a calendar invite. I think June 8th, I think is Sunday. Calendars are hard for me. I think June 8th is a Sunday and it's my 11 a.m. For Austin, Texas. So I will literally be coming out of church and checking my phone and submitting. Now, what I need to read this real quick. How do I name? Yeah, it's just going to be like normal. Okay, so I wanted to get this. How do I name my Idris? Our ship naming FAQ has all the info you need on the process. The naming itself is done via the hangar on the website. Names can be changed at any time, but your ship can only hold one name at a time. I just wanted to make sure. So because this is something they're activating, like in waves, I didn't know if there was a special portal or a special way to name your Idris, but it looks like it's just the same process as any other naming. So go to your hangar, find your pledge where the Idris exists, and then just wait for that to prompt. Like on Sunday at 11 a.m. my time, that window should change to the ability to name it. Cool. All right. Moving on. We talked about the Show Us Your Colors celebration. So it is Pride Month and they are giving away an Aegis Saber Firebird standalone ship with LTI. So there's contest rules, but basically if you have a creative idea that's colorful and it showcases who you are, you can go on to the contest rules, the community hub to submit, and you have a chance of getting the Aegis Saber Firebird standalone ship with LTI. Let's keep going. We did already talk about International Bar Citizen Weekend. I just wanted to highlight that there's an article here that has everything. If you come, you get a special, a unique in-game item called the Holographic Vandal Skull. So I'm going to highlight it right here for you, which I think we're looking at right here, this little image. So if you come, which is awesome, I freaking love these. I love these. If you come to one of these International Bar Citizens, you'll get like a little square or like a rectangle business card looking thing. Scratch off gives you an in-game code to put into your like RSI website, and that'll be awarded into your hangar, and then you'll have access to this item to put around in your hangar. Yeah. So Austin, Texas, it's going to be at Pinballs Lake Creek on Research Boulevard in Austin, Texas. Again, I will be there. I can't wait to meet some of you. Okay. Like always, we want to part of the low-hanging fruit. We just want to talk about the latest patch that's in the PTU. I'm not going to get too much into this because this is basically the last part of the podcast, right? The meat of our podcast is 4.2. So just quickly, here's the latest patch notes. Nothing stands out to me as new, but I'm just going to quickly go through testing feedback and focus. And I kind of want to talk about my favorite thing that I've read. So stability and bug fixes, yes. Stormbreaker, all phases of Stormbreaker, which is the in-game sandbox activity. We're going to watch a whole video on that, so just stand by. The Apex of Valakar, which is the adult raid worm looking thing. The dynamic rain, radiation. There's a Volt laser shotgun. The Argo Atlas combat variants, right? The new Wicklow ship additions, new hairstyles, and the Sterling exploration suit. Right? Not ready for testing is the Lazarus facility freight elevators. Okay. All right. But what I love is that you can call up, what was it? You can call up the Atlases. You can call up small vehicles on your freight elevator now. And I wish I would have taken that note or put it down. I'm trying to remember what can now come up. I don't know if it's just like the Atlases or if it's just... All right, I owe y'all an answer. So stand by on my social medias. I will post wherever I find it. But you can now call up vehicles on your freight elevator. That's exciting. That should make a lot of our loading and staging of vehicles so much easier. So that's exciting. Can't wait. Okay. I'm actually really excited to tell you all this story. Subscriber promotions. So you've heard this every month so far in 2025 or 2955 for us nerds. I've not been happy with the subscriber promotions. They haven't been good. Like ever since the potted plant, we've had maybe a handful, 2 or 3 months where the content was actually good, in my opinion, right? So I stopped being, I wanted to make sure how I said that. I wanted to stop being a subscriber in December of this last year, and just kind of save that money for actual ships and actual investment and those types of things. But this month brought me back in. I am back to being an Imperator subscriber because of this content. This is pretty awesome. At least I am excited about this. So you're looking at 2 of the items here. You're looking at this massive diorama. I'm going to call it a diorama. It's actually like a big statue. And it's not in game yet. It's for a future patch, which more than likely will come in 4.2. And these are both items. But you've got the Valakar, right? The big worm thing that you see there. It's beautiful. It's got the emerald green kind of radiation coming out of the soil, and it's covered in radiation. So pretty awesome. And then you see the bomber jacket that the character is wearing. So the ASD is the new, it's kind of the antithesis of the regen crisis, right? So we're going through this narrative of regeneration, and you've got the UEE going for it. You've got Wicklows going for it. You've got now ASD is involved. Some of that will be explained in the video that we're going to watch together, but you've got all these opposing forces trying to solve the regen crisis. ASD is one of the facilities or companies that run the facilities that you're going to be going through in 4.2, but this bomber jacket is freaking sweet. I love everything about this month. Again, it brought me back into the subscriber. So, and that's as a Centurion level subscriber, you get the bomber jacket. So here you go. Pretty awesome. I think it looks good. And then you've got the, I'm calling it a diorama. What would you call this? It is hanger diorama. So then if it's just a diorama, I'm curious how big it is. Like, is it as big as the supplier die, right? The supplier die statue that you have in your hangar. It's massive. It's like life size, right? Big boxes of like cargo. I don't think you would call that a diorama. I think a diorama is small by definition, I think. But anyways, you've got this irradiated by toxic storms on Pyro 1. The Valakar bursts from the ground in this decorative hangar diorama. So awesome. In this picture, it looks small, just relative to the background. But anyways, don't care. It looks great. So the prices, if you are like a Centurion member and you're interested in getting the other stuff, here are your prices. So the ASD bomber jacket is $4. The irradiated Valakar diorama is $7. And then bought together, $9.35. So less than $10, you're getting a pretty sweet gig. Your vehicles of the month, you've got Cutlass Steel, priced at $235. And then for our Imperadors, they just really wanted to go heavy on the Asgard versus the Valkyrie conversation. You can get $375 Valkyrie, and you fly that for the entire month, and then you're going to enjoy it. It is an amazing, amazing ship. I'm a fan of the Valkyrie. Cool. And that's it, guys. What are your thoughts on the subscriber promotions this year or this month? Good work. Like I'm actually very impressed. Very impressed. Roadmap roundup. Here we go. It's 5:46 in the morning. We've been doing this for like 30 minutes. We're making good progress, but we're about to get into some long material. So the roadmap roundup. Again, if this is your first time listening to Soul Provision, okay, let's try that again. If it's your first time listening to Beyond the Verse podcast, creators of Soul Provision, the roadmap update has been in a bad place as far as like the value it brings. Like if you're watching the patch notes and you're listening to this podcast or really any other podcast, you know everything that's on this. So is it just a regurgitation of information already present? I mean, yeah, it really is. There's no like surprises. There's no like hidden things in here. And then when there are, they literally say redacted. So it's been kind of a difficult thing for me as a creator to make exciting for you, as this is, again, all kind of known information. So I'm just going to quickly go through the roadmap update, and then we'll get into the actual Star Citizen monthly report, or the PU monthly report, that I think has a little bit more interesting information. So here we go. 4.2. These are changes. So these are going into confirmed. It actually doesn't say which status they're going into. Yeah, they're set to committed. Okay, so all these are set to committed. Here we go. Irradiated Apex Valakar. Duh. The Irradiated Adult Valakar. The Irradiated Juvenile Valakar. Everything's irradiated. Copian. We got new hairstyles. It's like the third or fourth patch with new hairstyles. Radiation, the ASD Research Facility, which is Associated Science and Development. That's what your ASD stands for. ASD Data Center, Stormbreaker Sandbox Activity, which is the theme of today's Inside Star Citizen video. We have the Argo Atlas IKTI, which I don't know what that stands for. Now, granted, I only spent like 30 seconds looking into it. I did a quick little like skim through of CIG material, and I even went to like ChatGPT and said, hey, out of all source material, what does the Atlas IKTI stand for? Don't know. Just know it's the combat variant. So we will find out here in the next couple of days what that stands for. But it's the combat variant of the regular Atlas and the Atlas Geo. Moving on. The Wicklow special ships. So special ships were updated. Check this out. Mention of the RSI Medevac. So adding multiple new ships and vehicles to the ever-expanding Wicklow's Emporium, the Mirai Guardian QI, the Anvil Mark II Super Hornet, the Misk Fortune, the Opoa Nox, the Mirai Pulse, the RSI Ursa Medevac. All right. And for some reason, I was thinking that was the Apollo or Triage, but the RSI Ursa Medevac. So the ships are getting more robust and more selection. That's awesome. Love it. Which, by the way, let me just take a second. Hold on. All right. Have a little bone to pick with Star Citizen, right? So the last week I decided I have all these, what are they called? They're scripts, but it's the mercenary scripts, right? The Merc scripts. So I have over 230, right? And I was hearing through the grapevine that these will be reset. You'll lose them in 4.2, or there's some question about it. And so rather than take a risk, I just went ahead and converted them over to favors, right? So the Wicklow favors, it's just another currency that you trade those into to get favors, and favors you trade in to get some of these items. So I just wanted to go ahead and spin them just to make sure that they, they don't fall off in my inventory, which I guess the favors could also fall off in your inventory as well. So who knows? My my Lord, it is so complicated to do this. So the Merc Scripts mission is individual to the player, and they're limited to just one. So if you don't get it to your player immediately, you have to wait 2 or 3 minutes for it to refresh in your mission contracts. So it legitimately took me, and this was yesterday, this was Thursday on my quote unquote day off, before the kids woke up. It took me like 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to turn in, these scripts. And so what it is like, you've got to turn in 50 at a time. So 50 Merc scripts gets you the 1 Wicklow favor. And then you have to take another mission, and that mission is one of the other 3 locations. So you've got one kind of in Hurston, you got one in Microtech, and you've got one in Crusader. And so in all 3 of mine were in different locations, and of course the 4th one repeated itself. But I had to travel every single time. So not only do you have to accept it, you have to win like the F5 war of refreshing your mission contracts to get it. So not only do you have to win that, it might be across the verse. It might be like going from Microtech to Crusader, right? So then you got to travel the whole way, and you can only do 50 at a time. So you turn in your 50, and then like I had 228 was my number. So that's 5 turn-ins. That's 4 turn-ins, right? So 4 turn-ins took me 2 hours to do. So I don't know. Was that the right answer? I don't know. But when I see like the Wicklow turning in ships, like number of favors in exchange for rewards, blah, blah, blah. Man, that gave me like anxiety from yesterday. All right, the Volt Laser Prism, the Shotgun Prism, the Sterling Exploration Suit, Dynamic Rain. This is what it's all about. In my opinion, this is what 4.2 is all about. Dynamic Rain. The Aegis Idris P, obviously, that was released. The Greycat MTC is released. The Guardian MX is released. The Starlancer TAC is released. And the Anvil Asgard is released as well. So there you go. A lot of released, a lot of committeds. But again, like this is in the patch notes. So we watch the PTU patch notes. Like a hawk every day when it comes out. We post on social media. None of this will be new information. So likewise, when one of these drop, you also get a Spectrum post that drops with just additional information, maybe organized a little bit differently. I like the format of like its status being in its own like block underneath each item. So I like this setup. This looks a lot better for me. It's a little bit easier for me to manage and to talk through. So I don't know. There's not new information. It's just maybe summarizes it in a different way. So, okay. The PU monthly reports. I think this is all about ships. And so I want to take a second. There's more information on here. This is not, again, for you CIG listeners. I freaking love every single one of you. Y'all know that too, because when we go to Bar Citizen, I talk to everyone, not just like the devs that we know, but I'll talk to QA. I'll talk to everybody. And I love every single one of y'all. So I don't want to discredit like 90% of the monthly report, but there is a chunk in here for ships that I think is very interesting. It's very interesting for us as listeners. So there's a lot of information in here about, updates to locations and fidelity and all that, as you're now seeing on my screen. But let's talk ships real quick. I just want to take a second and remind listeners that there are 3 phases to art creation in game development. So you've got white box, gray box, and you've got your final state, which I guess final state's a little bit more obvious, right? Or final pass. Let's call it final pass. So in the white box phase, this is your ideation. This is your taking a bunch of geometric shapes and just saying, look, I think it's like taking clay, like a big ball of clay, and making your like initial pass of like, here's what the ship can look like with like just molding it with your fingers, right? White box, right? It's a clay little sculpture, right? With no detail. There might be a little bit of detail, but like for the most part, no detail. So you're getting your concept out there. It's how you speak to it. It's how you showcase it. It's how you, it's like how you sell the idea of a ship. And once it goes through the white box phase and you're like, yep, that's about the size we want. That's about the shape we want. Now we can start putting more levels of detail into the ship. And so enter gray box. So gray box, of course, is where you start getting detail, right? You start putting, so let's take that ball of clay, let's mold it into that ship. All right, it goes through white box. In gray box, you're going to take a toothpick and you're going to start carving like the door, and you're going to start putting details inside of the outside of the ship, even on the inside of the ship, right? You're going to make that pass where things are looking pretty good. Like it's gone from like a concept to I can really see this, entering the verse. And then once it gets kind of the gray box in the final pass, very similar, but in the final pass, that's your polish. It's basically ready, but it's going through a polishing phase, making sure the bells and whistles work, functionality works, nothing really crazy, like missing a grate on the floor, ceiling. Your final pass is literally the polishing phase, and before it hits, the store, or before it hits the verse. And so I wanted to go through that explanation first, and there's probably more technical explanations, but I think that's like a general gamer can like view it through that lens. So as we get into this art ships, I wanted y'all to know that before we read these status updates. So here we go. As usual, May was extremely busy for the vehicle content teams as they supported new releases, progressed with upcoming vehicles, and kicked off projects for the next year or so. In Europe, 4 unannounced ships progressed. The first officially entered production, so that's basically going into white box, while the second progressed toward the upcoming white box review gate. The third continued down the production pipeline, with the artists currently waiting feedback from the LOD 0 review. And the fourth received considerable attention during its white box phase, particularly around the cockpit entry requirements. Interesting. What ships do you know of that would need cockpit entry requirements? Just let that stew, as it will receive entirely new enter and exit animations. Just, again, let that stew. For already announced ships, the Anvil Paladin progressed through Greybox, benefiting from the recent work on the Asgard to help speed up its creation. The consolidated Outland Pioneer continued its long and extensive white box phase, so the Pioneer is still in white box. It will not be ready before IAE. It's not ready this year. You will not see the Pioneer this year. Right? Quote, the sheer scale and complexity of the ship means that this is a longer than normal phase. End quote. You're not going to see it this year. Then after a short pause to help close out the Invictus ships, work resumed on the Ironclad, with a focus on blocking out every room with the appropriate Drake kits. So when I hear blocking out every room with Drake kits, I think it's in gray box phase, right? Because those are levels of detail, right? You're still building the ship, but we're getting into details, so one could assume that means gray box. All right, with the Guardian MX Live, the North American teams moved on to closing out an upcoming variant for its impending release. So another Guardian. With the ship successfully passing its final review, another unannounced vehicle passed its white box review following minor adjustments to one of its key mechanics. Wow. And then I think this is really big news. The RSI Apollo Medevac and Triage passed their gray box reviews, with a focus on ensuring each medbed module tier is distinct without being disruptively different to use. We will see the Apollo Medevac and Triage at IAE. If not before, we will see it at IAE. If it's through Greybox, it passed it. We're successful. And so as of June, it's successful. It's got several months for it to go through polishing. I think we'll see the Apollo Medevac and Triage. And then check this out. The RSI Perseus continued through Greybox, ready for its gate review early this month. So if it is successful, the Perseus is successful this month and it passes its Greybox review, we could see the Perseus also in IAE, right? And it was always, you guys coming back with Galaxy, right? Like they were very clear, like for years now, they've been very clear that it was the Polaris, then the Perseus, and then the Galaxy. So they're not going out of order. Your Galaxy's not coming. Sorry, guys. But it'll be the RSI Perseus, I think, for this IAE. And then we can expect the modular Galaxy next year. So what do you think? Is that, of all the notes that are inside this monthly report, I don't know. I feel like that is very important. The core gameplay section, of course, is important. It gets into the mechanics and the different loops that they're working on. Some cool things about lighting and locations. Again, all of this is super interesting, but it is a lot. And I would encourage you to go get your eyes on it, dive into the information, and really get into those notes. Okay. It's time for 4.2. We're going to pull up the Inside Star Citizen and we're going to watch that video together. Just quote, forecast for Alpha 4.2, partly dangerous with a high chance of mystery, loot, and death. Tune in for the full report on the next wave of unfolding regen crisis and a brand new sandbox activity. So we're going to watch that video and we're going to end the episode on the actual patch watch. So what else besides Stormbreaker can we get into in 4.2? So without further to do, let's get into this. Let me get it started. Go to max screen. I'll shut up for a little bit and I'll see you here in about 10 minutes. So here we go.
Stormbreaker is all about taking the next step in exploration gameplay. Making exploration work in Star Citizen actually requires you to go out and build locations that players want to visit. That's what we're doing now.
We were trying to push our FPS combat existing in-game and actually get players to feel like they're actually fighting for something.
Stormbreaker is different because you don't go into your contract manager to look for what to do.
Super important. This is not a mission. Nothing's going to direct you to go here and do XYZ. This is a sandbox, evergreen, persistent thing that will be happening regardless. So that's very important.
You just go off, fly down to a planet, and you start exploring.
We wanted to lead players from place to place and make them question what they're seeing.
So I want to be clear here. Stormbreaker isn't an event, and it's not a mission. It is a sandbox activity. It will be persistent. It will keep happening. Every single patch, you can come back and you can run this over and over and over again, just like you can the Align and Mine sandbox activity.
It's not an event.
This is a continuation of the Regen Crisis storyline. In 4.1, we saw how Rayari was trying to tackle the Regen Crisis.
In 4.2, we're starting to see what ASD, a faction called Associated Science and Development, is doing to address the Regen Crisis.
ASD is probably best publicly known for their weapons research division, which has released some high-tech weaponry that's already available to put on your ship. But they have many other research departments, and they're doing their part to help out with the current regen crisis and the Second Life initiative. They're diving into trying to fix the problem with imprints and regen. So it'll be interesting to see what solutions they propose. Now, over the years, ASD has gained a little bit of a reputation for maybe pushing things a tad too far. One of their weapons was known for the particularly gruesome effect it had on people it was targeted on, which gained them a bit of a reputation across the Empire for maybe pushing science a little bit farther than they should.
Stormbreaker will start with these data facilities that you will find on Pyro 4.
This is where ASD is storing a lot of their data. So you'll find a bunch of servers, and this is actively being guarded by security forces, which means you gotta land your ship somewhere where it's safe and then make your way down on foot.
ASD does not want you there. They will be quite upset that you're trespassing.
So if you want to explore the facility, you'll have to fight your way in. You'll find quite a few places in the facility that aren't that easy to get into.
As you explore as a player, you will encounter a new type of door access, the Lotus Scanner. You will need to kill the enemies in the area to try to pass as one of them wearing their outfit. It is just a simple door, but with this new mechanic, you can feel like Indiana dressing as the enemies and going inside the enemy lines.
Access granted.
As you explore deeper into the facility, if you pay attention to your environment, you'll notice a number of different places and rooms that require a bit of extra effort to get into.
There will be unique loot, and the more of the facility guards you relieve of the ability to go home and say goodnight to their children, you will...
So I have to get into this to really like learn it myself, obviously. So just prefacing my statement with that. If you're having to take off your gear, like you're having to switch your gear over to like an NPC's gear, where does the armor go? Right? What's the best way to take your armor and put it in a box or something, right? And then if you don't have a backpack, all this loot that they're talking about, you're going to be very limited with just how much loot you're able to take out with you, right? Like you can put a rifle in your hand and a rifle on your back and maybe a sidearm, but you're not going to have a lot of space to take things out. So I'm curious what that looks like. Again, I don't know. They could have a solve for it, but when I originally watched this video, I think that's what came up in my mind.
You'll slowly find the first piece of the puzzle that you'll need to finish this entire loop. So if you discover the secrets that we've hidden and you've taken care of the environment, you've found the information, you've read through the information, you've listened to the information, you might find that your journey takes you to Pyro 1.
Once you arrive at Pyro 1, there's one thing you'll immediately notice: a huge storm.
It is just mind-blowing. It looks beautiful. There will be rain. You've got this very dark environment because of this overhanging cloud. You've got lightning just constantly going off inside the clouds. It looks phenomenal.
If you were to fly into the storm, you'll notice that your ship starts taking massive amounts of distortion damage. If you don't watch out, this can seriously mess up your ship.
It'll cause it to turn off, and you will plummet to the ground. If you don't explode, out of luck, you then have to walk out of the storm.
You'll quickly notice that you'll be affected by radiation damage.
So unless you've brought a load of rad pens, you're likely gonna die. And that's not even to say anything that might be in the storm that has mutated and isn't the normal version of what it once was.
So how do you get into the storm where ASD doesn't want you to go? On the outer edges of the storm, you'll find 3 shuttle stations that each have a shuttle that lead into the storm.
Once again, ASD don't want you there, so you'll have to part people with their lives.
These shuttles are specially retrofitted to allow them to withstand the distortion damage, allowing employees and also players into the storm.
We've made sure the roof is glass. It's using the old Crusader shuttles, so you can actually appreciate all of the beauty of the storm.
This is where some of the weather system improvements come in that we've been working on, where you'll see rain hitting the windshield, lightning outside, and thunder in the distance.
And also, you get a little bit of respite before the we're gonna put you through. So it's kind of like a nice, like, oh, look at this, and then you're gonna land on the beaches of Normandy, D-Day style. Here we go.
When you get off the shuttle, everything's gonna try to kill you.
You'll be immediately assaulted by loads of security guards outside.
It is very dark. The visibility is very low.
You'll start being affected by the radiation damage from the storm. If you do manage to get a radiation suit, you'll still find irradiated wildlife for you to contend with.
So just watch your back, watch your friend's back.
Your objective is to get inside as quickly as possible into the relative safety of the research base.
Once you're inside this facility, that's where Stormbreaker really begins.
All that stuff that you've done to get there, that was purely the beginning. It's the intro scene in the movie. You've not even hit the movie yet.
Inside, you'll find danger, mystery, great loot,
Death, action, cruelty.
audio logs, finally an alternative to reading,
Hello. Here we go.
new ways to open doors, which doesn't seem exciting, but we really are excited about it.
I'm really excited to see you playing with this new mechanic.
You're gonna find irradiated things.
Eggs, babies, screaming,
They might all be connected.
the horrors of science run amok.
You can find new battle vehicles that can only be earned in game. I said choo choo as well. This isn't a fucking train. It's got massive weapons.
No, you just can't. You're just like. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. He's got the acting qualification, I don't.
I want players to feel something different to what they've been feeling when playing Star Citizens. I want them to be hyped for every bit of the mystery that they are trying to discover and all of the clues that they get right.
I think it's going to be an amazing patch. We've all been working very, very hard.
We've got VFX, lighting, audio, all of that is coming together to create the biggest, baddest content that you've seen in Star Citizen so far.
It's going to be cinema, as Zach would say. I'm really excited for you all to play it. I'm really excited to see you all discover it.
And the story doesn't end here. It really gets messed up in August.
It's really cool. I want to tell you everything.
So stop watching the video and go play the game.
Yeah, go play the game.
Now, of course, for those of you that have been playing or watching PTU for the last week, you already know much of what's not being said here. But that's by design. As we said back in February, it's our intention this year to have you discover as much as possible in-game through our monthly patches instead of having everything just spoiled here. And by the time Stormbreaker releases in about 2 weeks, there should still be a few more changes and improvements along the way. Oh, also, special shout out to Louis, Max, and everyone on the Montreal Environment team for kicking all kinds of ass on this one. And don't forget, we're currently taking submissions for this year's CitizenCon watch parties, where we'll send devs to watch the program alongside of you, and they have to submit to your every question. Mostly. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the people and process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week for Star Citizen Live. Where'd my hair go?
Yeah. Okay. So much. There's how do you unpack that video? So this, and I say this every patch. I feel like I say this every patch, but this has got to be one of the most impactful patches in a very long time, right? Having weather storms impacts everybody. The distortion, right? We heard about that. I'm very curious what the lighting is going to look like. Like even without storms, some vehicles, like the screens, right? The heads-up displays, the HUDs, reflect off the windshields pretty bad and makes it hard to see. So now throw rain in there, and I wonder just how bad visibility will be. But you've got rain that's going to impact everything, thunderstorms, worms, adult worms. You saw the massive, like, radiated adult Veliker that was out there. Exploration is starting to slowly become a thing, and that excites me. I 100% agree with them saying, like, hey, here's how to get something started, but then don't tell us anything else. I'm actually okay with that. Let the game naturally and organically push you to that next location. So I can't wait to get into this. There's going to be many org nights and soul provision that'll bring us through that content. So cannot wait. All right, we're going to wrap up this podcast with the patch watch, just going through some bullet points, looking at pictures and the prettiness that is. So we got the Atlas and refining improvements. Again, I don't see where the ITK whatever nonsense, like it's not here. The actual acronym definition. So please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So the Atlas refining improvements, the Mirai UI new style, right? So the Guardian QI has now been updated with the MX UI. So it's going to look a lot better. Thank God. All right. So here's your neutralizing threats with distortion. So in F of 4.2, we got missiles, bombs, and torpedoes that will explode when fully distorted. So that's okay. Progress. Missiles tuning and targeting improvements. There is some okay, I guess emotional response to some of this is like the PDC impacts, what it looks like for torpedoes, and yeah, I'll leave it there. There's just some drama there on how people feel about the balancing. Additional updates: we got torpedoes, explosion, safety distance, explosion, radius and damage, fall off, and then a health sanity pass. Cool. Again, some high level stuff. And then we have the radiation widget. So radiation is going to be a pretty big deal in this patch. So how are you going to manage it? You heard a little bit about that during the video. So you're going to have rad pins. So you have med pins and rad pins. So on a usual kit, again, for soul provision, we have the Orc Mark X as the style of gear that we wear. So you can have 4 pins on your left hip. So honestly, I can probably see us doing like a 2-2, like 2 med pins and 2 rad pins. Like for me, it just depends. It depends on like how fast is your radiation going to be an issue. So it might be 1 med pin and 3, or 2 and 2, or maybe 3 and 1, right? So we're gonna have to play around with that. You're gonna have to put some more in your inventory. So like in your virtual legs inventory or core inventory, maybe in your backpack, but you're going to want to have both now. It's not just about med pins. I've learned that the other pins are kind of worthless at this current moment. So you're going to have med pins and you're going to have rad pins. That's going to be super interesting to plan for missions. And, who knows? You might happen across one of these locations by accident. You're going to wish that you had some of those pins. So this was a fun episode, y'all. I really enjoyed this episode. Leading up or previewing like a major patch, like 4.2. It's kind of the undertaking because there's so much to discuss. But I think CIG gave us a lot of the content for this week. The video was amazing. I love Ian's energy when he talks about his craft, right? When he talks about his team, what they do. It's infectious. Right. So I feed off of that. I feel it. For the CIG listeners, phenomenal work. Can't wait to get into 4.2 and really get soul provision involved. Really looking forward to it. And for everybody else, keep your head to the ground. Be listening for next steps beyond the June 14th International Bar Citizen in Austin, Texas. We are still finalizing details for the Citizen Con happening on October 11th. Namir Idris. Otherwise, if you want to become part of the conversation, you can do so at emailing us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com. Go to soulprovision.com, join our organization, go to Spotify, respond to the comments, respond to the poll, get engaged. We love y'all. We love having y'all. Looking forward to future engagements with y'all. I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care, everybody.